Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my mini reviews number 4, I believe. I think it's number 4. These videos are where I have been testing out a bunch of products that I keep in this purple makeup bag on my makeup desk. And when I sit down to do my makeup, I try to make an effort to reach for these products so that I can test them out and get a full, well-formed opinion. So these particular products I have now been testing out for 2 weeks, and before that I had been using them on and off for a couple of months. Typically I do only test these for about a week straight, but since I didn't upload these videos 2 weeks in a row, it's been 2 weeks that I've been testing these ones out. So I feel like I have very well-formed opinions on all of these products, so let's just go ahead and jump right into the video. The first thing that I want to talk about looks awful, and I'm gonna tell you why. Brad and I recently moved and we live in an apartment. I've talked about it a little bit, but in the process of moving, actually the day we were moving, I had packed a little makeup bag. It was like my bigger folding makeup bag, and I had it sitting on my desk, and Brad went to take the mirror off of my desk and he picked up the makeup bag and I had left it open. Totally my fault, but everything fell out and a few things broke. So this is the Natasha Denona Safari palette, and this did not fully break. There was a few shadows that cracked, but they did all fall out, and then I had to go back and put them all back in the order that I thought was right. And I'm pretty sure I got it right, but if for some reason it's not, then that's why. It looks pretty busted on the inside. It's very dirty and looks very fun. First and foremost, what I want to say about this palette, these 4 shades right here, these cool toned shades on top, not including this one up in the corner called Malia, these 4 are terrible. I don't know what happened with these shades. I personally love Natasha Denona's matte shadow formula, not her cream to matte formula, but just her straight up matte formula. I think it is really, really, really great. But those 4 just really hit the mark for me. I'm gonna swatch them for you, and I don't know how they're gonna swatch. This is the shade Fata Morgana. See, and like, okay, that one swatched pretty good. This is the shade Rhino. So they look like a tiny bit streaky when you swatch them. This is the shade Stone, and then the shade Savannah. So they look a little streaky when you swatch them. That shade Savannah did not swatch well. But for some reason when you apply them on the eye, it's just so unbelievably patchy. And I know that a lot of times you can apply matte shadows and they'll look patchy, and it's because of the base that you use. Maybe it's because you don't have the best blending skills, but I have other shades in other palettes that are in the same color family as these that are very similar, and I can get those to work with my favorite base. I did try different bases with those 4 and they just didn't work for me. I think that the best way to apply them is to actually just kind of pack on the color and then very lightly blend it, like literally almost don't blend it at all. But the rest of the palette is beautiful. I think that the shadows are beautifully pigmented. I really like the color story of it, like these really warm shades down here, like these bottom 2 rows, I think are beautiful. And this is the palette that I have been reaching for if I pick out like a ColourPop Super Shock that I want to wear for the day. I've been grabbing for this palette a lot to kind of pair with it, because I feel like you can get so many different combinations with this palette, even if you don't use that top row. Okay, this is another weird one. So this is the Wet n Wild Color Icon Bronzer in the shade Ticket to Brazil. And I have used this a couple times on my channel, I think, and it looks so insanely light. It looks super similar to my skin tone. I'm showing it to you like on my arm and my chest because those parts are darker than my face. It looks so similar to my skin tone. I have had previously this bronzer, so I pulled out my old one. My old one is super busted looking, don't judge me. This is the old one that I have, and this is the new one. They are the same shade, called the same thing, both Ticket to Brazil, and this one is so much darker. The old one is so dark, and I'm just so confused because there are 2 shades in this line, and this is the darker one. and I didn't know that when I bought it. I thought that this would be the lighter one because it's so light, so I was like gonna go pick up the darker one, but this was the darker one. And I'm just like, do black people not exist? Do people with dark skin tones not exist? Like, what's going on here, Wet n Wild? So that kind of like puts a sour taste in my mouth about this product and almost makes me not want to talk about it. But since this is a review video, I do want to talk about it just a little bit. This is actually a really nice bronzer. So my favorite way to apply any bronzer is with like an angled blush brush. Typically I reach for my F21 by ColourPop because it's super fluffy and nice and soft, and I just feel like it applies bronzer really well. So I'm actually gonna apply a little bit on camera just because I feel like I want super light with my bronzer today, and I feel like I can use a little bit more. It gives a super gorgeous bronze. The first few times I used it, I thought it looked a little bit orange, but the more I used it, I was like, wow, this is actually a really gorgeous bronzy color. It is super light, and I feel like I do have to apply a lot to get it to show up, but I am a little bit more tan right now than I would be like the rest of the year. So I think in the winter, this is going to work really well. Would I repurchase this? Not unless they come out with more shades. I do actually regret buying this and not doing my proper research to make sure that it was an inclusive shade range, so I do apologize for that. But other than that, it's a pretty good bronzer. Would I repurchase it after this? No. Next, we have this NARS satin lipstick in the shade Tolede, and this actually I got in a Sephora favorites set. No, I got it in a Sephora playbox like months ago, and then I picked up like the Hello favorites from Sephora, which was like the new version of their Sephora playbox, and this was in it. So I ended up giving the newer one that I got away, and then this is the older one that I kept, but technically it is kind of like new to me, so that's why it's in this video. I love this shade. I think it is so gorgeous. It is a really nice everyday color, and for some reason I remembered this as being a lot darker than it actually is. I thought it was like comparable to my Bite Beauty Chai lipstick. Like, I thought they were like the same shade, but as you can see, Chai is a lot darker, and I thought this one was darker too. I don't really know why, but I think it is so beautiful. It's not so heavily pigmented. It is more of a sheer formula, but I think that it's so pretty on the lips. It is nice and glossy, not like a gloss, but it's not matte. It has a little bit of something to it when you put it on the lips, and obviously my favorite way to wear this is paired with my NYX lip liner in the shade Natural, because I pair that with every lip that I wear every single day. But I have really been enjoying this. Will I repurchase it when this is up? No. And here's why. NARS used to be cruelty free, and then they started selling in mainland China, so they are no longer cruelty free. I am trying to make a conscious effort to only buy from cruelty free brands. I know I have messed up a few times, but I really am trying really hard to only buy from cruelty free brands, so I will not repurchase this when I use it up. Next, I love this. This is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Eraser Concealer. I have the shade Light, and this is a really beautiful concealer. My all-time favorite concealer is the e.l.f. HD Lifting Concealer, and honestly, I think this is coming in a close second to that. The formulas are super different. The e.l.f. HD Lifting Concealer is really gel-like and just super creamy and smooth, and this one is creamy and smooth, but it doesn't have that gel texture that my e.l.f. concealer does. But I find that they give a very similar effect on my under eyes. They both look super hydrated and smoothing almost, and they just both look so beautiful. But I have really been enjoying this. It honestly has taken like the second favorite concealer spot from like my RMS concealer. I did take the sponge applicator tip off because I found it super annoying to use, and it just absorbed so much product, and honestly this is just a lot easier. And I also found that the sponge tip was super non-hygienic, so I have been enjoying this. Will I repurchase this? probably. I really love this concealer. Next, we have the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Stick Foundation in the shade Soft Ivory. I'm not going to go too in depth on this because I did a full review video on this, but I have been enjoying this. It's not my favorite foundation. It doesn't wear the best in this area, but it doesn't wear the worst either. I'd say it's right in the middle, and I have been enjoying this. Would I repurchase this? Probably. Now I have a brow product to talk about, and I feel like I hardly ever purchase new brow products just because I hardly use brow products. My brows are very full naturally and pretty dark naturally, especially when I dye my hair a little bit lighter, so I don't typically like to fill them in with color. And this is the e.l.f. Wow Brow in the shade Neutral Brown, so it does have some color to it, but it isn't super dark and intense. It looks like just a very sheer amount of tint basically, and the applicator is super tiny, and I don't know if you'll be able to see, but it actually has some fibers in it, and I find that it's just super easy to apply. When you're applying it, you don't get it super messy all around your eyebrows, which I have found happens with quite a lot of tinted brow gels. But my favorite thing about this is what it feels like in your brows. It doesn't feel like you have a brow product on at all. It just feels like your natural brow hairs. Your brows are still like soft and movable. Like if you have tried the ABH clear brow gel, you know that like you kind of feel like you can't like move your eyebrows. It feels like you put a clay mask on your face and it like has completely dried down, and you know how like you can't really move your face when that happens? That's what it feels like, but in your brows. That does not happen at all with this product. My one negative complaint about this is how tiny it is, but I have had this for probably a month and a half now, and it doesn't seem like it's getting near its end like at all. And this was pretty cheap. I don't think it was more than $3, probably less than that, so I definitely would repurchase this. Then this I'm gonna say this is like my third favorite thing in this bag. This is the Nudestix Nudies All Over Face Bronze color in the shade Sunkissed. Again, I got this in the same Hello Sephora favorite set that I got the NARS Tolede lipstick in, and this is a mini, but I have really been loving this. So this is Nudestix Nudies formula, and this is actually the second Nudestix Nudies that I have tried, and this color is just so beautiful. Julia Adams here on YouTube, actually, she loves this one and she describes it the best. She says it looks like that perfect sunburn color, and I totally agree. Like, you know when you get just the tiniest little bit of a sunburn like across this portion of your face, and obviously you know your skin's dying and like could cause you skin cancer, but it just looks really good. This is that perfect color. It's like you could use it almost as a bronzer but almost as a blush, and it's just like this perfect in between. And I have been using this basically every single day, and I only have this much left of it, and I have already decided that when I use this up, I will 100% be buying the big size of it because I just love it so much, and it's so easy to apply too. Usually what I do is, you saw me draw a little bit of it on my hand, what I'll do is I will do that and then take my ColourPop F20 brush. This is a little bit more of a firmer but still a little bit fluffy brush, and it is pretty small. But then what I'll do is I'll pick some up from here on my hand, and then I'll just kind of go in like circle motions and like bring it out here, bring it up and over my nose, and I find that it just gives a really smooth application of this blush. Next we have a product that I think is okay. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. This is the Burt's Bees concealer in the shade Light Medium. The first thing I want to say about this is that this is a very sheer concealer. It gives you the tiniest bit of coverage, like barely, but I do think it looks really pretty on my under eyes. What I like about this concealer is that it kind of has like a peachy pink tone to it, so I find that it really helps correct my under eyes. But I also find that when I wear this, I have to go in with a little bit more than I usually would with any other concealer in my collection because of just how sheer it is. So I do enjoy the formula, and it actually dries down to be pretty matte. I don't know why I'm showing you my hand like you'll be able to see. It does dry down to be pretty matte, so I do actually enjoy this, and I think I could definitely get away without setting this concealer on my under eyes. But it's just one of those products where it's like, it's okay, it's not my favorite, it's not the worst, and I think I'm at the point right now where when I run out of this, I probably would not repurchase it, but not because I hate it, just because I find that it doesn't really fit my taste that well. Next is the Pure On Point eyeliner in the shade Down to Earth. This actually came with my Raw Beauty Christie eyeshadow palette, and it was like a sorry your order went so terribly little free gift, and I have really been enjoying this. It is a very smooth and pigmented eyeliner pencil, but it is pretty easy to blend out, and then when it sets down, it sets down, and you do have to work pretty fast, because that was pretty fast that I started to blend that out and it did set down. But I do enjoy it. It's a nice brown eyeliner, and I probably would not repurchase this when I run out of it, but I am going to enjoy the use while I have it. And the very last product that I want to talk about is another mini product. This I got with a Sephora Points perk, and this is the Laura Mercier Caviar Stick Eye Color in the shade Amethyst. I did not use this for a very long time after I got it because I wasn't really quite sure how to use it. And then I started following Shelby Wilson and watching her videos, and I think it's Shelby Wilson, she really loves these, and it just kind of inspired me to pull this out and play around with it, and I have really been enjoying it. This is the type of product that I would definitely pair with my Natasha Denona Safari palette. This formula is almost oily. It's not super thin, it's like a thicker, more oily texture, but it wears so well on the eyes. For me, I don't find it creasing ridiculously fast. I do just naturally have more oily eyelids, so things typically do tend to crease on me, but usually a cream eye product like this would crease super fast. This one doesn't really. It still creases, but it's not terrible. So I have been enjoying this, and I think that when I use this up, I wouldn't repurchase this color again, but I would probably repurchase some different colors because I have really been enjoying this one. And that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of my opinions on a bunch of different products that I have been testing out over the past 2 weeks, and before that, like month and a half. So I hope you will like this video before you go, and consider subscribing to my channel, and hopefully I will see you in my next one. Bye!